Yeah, welcome everyone to the Flux Dev meeting. It is the 24th of March. Yeah, welcome. Ihor, I think you had an agenda item, something you wanted to bring up?
You're muted.
Oh, no, he's gone.
Oops. Oh, he's back.
Yes.
For some reason, the unmute button magically disappeared from my Zoom interface. So
I can hear you now.
Yeah, so I had an agenda item for today. So we briefly discussed that with Stefan a few days ago. And I'd like to discuss that with the public audience here, with the maintenance audience. So at CNCF, we'd like to lower our Circle CI usage, and we are happy to offer you some alternatives like GitHub Actions and Azure Pipelines. So whatever you prefer. And I'd like to discuss with you how much they're locked down with the Circle CI, how much you're dependent on Circle CI, and how can we help you with migrating to the different options. I noticed that you're using GitHub Actions for some different purposes, as far as I remember, for documentation building or something like that. So yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. If you have any blockers, let's discuss them, and let's discuss this topic in general.
Yeah, so we have lots of issues with CI. There is an ongoing thread with the kind team, with the Kubernetes kind team. So we rely on Kubernetes kind. We spin up clusters in parallel on the same VM, and we run our end-to-end tests for Flux and Hem operator on those clusters. And let's say 1 in 10 builds fails with some kubeadm init error, Docker error, something around the cluster bootstrap. And this is an ongoing thread since January, I think. With the kind team, we enabled we raised the verbosity level, but yeah, the messages are Docker socket close, or I don't know, kubeadm init error 1.2.5 or something. So it's not something that we can do here. I'm guessing maybe it's something with the Circle CI VM itself, or we couldn't point our finger where is the problem, and it has a couple of downsides to this. New contributors are frustrated. I mean, they change something in a README, and end-to-end testing is failing, or
everything fails.
And they cannot run it again because they are not a maintainer of the project. You cannot just go in Circle CI and click restart the tests. So someone must be there to do that. As for I don't think we are locked into Circle CI. We use some things in Circle CI like caching for Go modules and for Docker images and for binaries, because we have these stages and we need to move all the assets from one stage to another. Otherwise, it will take like half an hour to run all the end-to-end tests, and that's not acceptable at all. I've looked at GitHub Actions recently, and I've seen that they added caching to their, so there is a caching action. I've tested out with the Go modules and seems to work. It's not as nice as Circle CI, where you can create the cache key and you can delete that cache. GitHub Actions will just snapshot the directory and that's it. You cannot say, hey, forget that old cache, do a new one. I don't know, maybe it's not such a huge issue. One of the most important things for us is in CI to be able to validate the custom resource code gen. And we have a validation script that's being, we use the validation script from the Kubernetes repository that generates the code inside CI, in the CI VM, and then compares what's being generated there with what's in Git. And if it's a difference, then we fail the build and we say, hey, this is not good. Someone changed the API without regenerating the code. These kind of changes can be like really impactful in a bad way if you don't do it. So we need this kind of step. I wasn't able to run the Kubernetes code gen inside GitHub Actions because the Go GitHub action doesn't set Go path and creates this insane path that I don't know why GitHub did that, but it's almost impossible. It's impossible to mimic a Go path, a correct Go path with Go source, Go library, Go bin, and so on. Looking over what's going on in 1.18, seems that the code gen script has dropped Go path as a requirement. And I assume it should work when 1.18 will be released. So it's on top of my list to revisit that once 1.18 is being released. I have a project for testing this with GitHub Actions, and if that works, I think migrating for Circle CI to GitHub Actions wouldn't be that hard because in Circle CI we use Ubuntu. GitHub Actions has an Ubuntu machine. So my guess is all those bash and bats, we use bats as our end-to-end framework to write our tests. They should be compatible. I mean, it's Ubuntu, it shouldn't be an issue.
Stefan, what about the bit where it runs kind? Is that like having Docker available? Is that sort of thing that you'd expect to have trouble with in GitHub Actions? Because don't we have to have special stuff in Circle CI to deal with that?
There is a GitHub action created by Microsoft that runs kind in GitHub Actions, but you can do it like we do it, like download the kind binary and do kind
just
create. Just run it, it works. So
we do it in parallel?
We drop that in Helm operator because kind doesn't. So it creates some locking, has some locking on the host, and bad things happen. So you cannot create them in parallel. You create one by one, then you run all the tests in parallel. We did this for Helm operator, like Hide did it, and the error rate dropped by a lot. Not creating multiple clusters in parallel. Do it serial at the beginning and afterwards just run all the tests on them.
It tends to be the bit that takes a lot of time, is the creation, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a shame. Oh well.
It's close to 3 minutes, so yeah, we need 4 clusters.
Well, maybe if we can't do it with GitHub Actions, then we can use Azure pipelines, or they might be more flexible. I don't know.
Yeah, my major concern with Azure is the fact that I haven't used Azure in years. I don't know anyone that uses it inside Weaveworks or other Flux contributors.
Yeah, it's kind of off to the side, isn't it? We don't really have any knowledge of it.
So we don't have knowledge.
That's a kind of lock-in a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, just to learn a new CI platform could take a while, right?
Yeah. Okay, GitHub Actions seems like a better bet in that respect then.
Yeah, I agree in this case. The only note about Azure pipelines is that it's not locked down to Azure platform itself. It's mostly like, they just reuse the well-known branding of the well-known product called Azure for the CI purposes. So it's not locked down to Azure. So you can use it with Kubernetes freely, with Go and all that stuff. So if you haven't checked, so they have the pretty extensive documentation here. So please take a look when you'll have time. Of course, they have, like some good integration with Azure, obviously, but if you don't use Azure, but you'd like to utilize the Azure pipelines, I mean, like with Azure as a infrastructure, as a service platform. But if you don't use it, so you're free not to use it.
So there are a couple of issues. I don't think Azure pipelines can run Kubernetes kind. Their approach is to create an actual AKS cluster to test your stuff. And that's kind of a blocker for us because we want to choose our own Kubernetes version. So for example, we would like to test on 1.18 Alpha 1 that's not available on AKS. Kind gives you this option to build your own kubelet image and give that image and it runs it. We have to make sure Flux runs at least on 3 versions of 3 different minor versions of Kubernetes. I don't know how we can do that with Azure. I don't know how long does it take for an AKS cluster to spin up. Does it take 3 minutes like a kind cluster, or it takes like 15 minutes? If it takes 15 minutes, it's useless.
Yeah, you can.
We need 4 of them.
Yeah. So regarding with the documentation, you can use. So again, like by default, it's just using the AKS. But if you don't want to use AKS, you can use also just generic providers, for example.
Yeah, okay. I've seen this documentation, and all of this documentation assumes you already have an AKS cluster running. But our end-to-end test means we want to create a cluster now, deploy this stuff, delete the cluster, create a new one, delete the cluster. So it's more about ephemeral clusters. And this is why I don't think AKS it's suitable for this. I see like it takes like 10 minutes to create the master nodes. I mean, we cannot deal with this stuff.
Let's consider GitHub Actions for now then, and then if we can't make that work, then we'll circle back and check back in with you, Igor.
Yeah,
how does that sound?
I'm not advocating here for AKS and just trying to answer some questions.
Yeah, cool, understood.
I agree, like with your specific case that you already have some experience and you already have some jobs with GitHub Actions, so it can be definitely easier just to reuse the same platform and not to add extra complexity.
Yeah, sounds like there might be a couple of problems to solve, but it's plausible. We can try it out.
Yep.
Igor, can you enable GitHub Action Professional on Flux CD organization?
Should be able to. So we have some agreements with GitHub. It's like someone has to pay for it, right? For GitHub Actions Professional.
Yeah,
like
for example,
okay. I think we can do it. So.
Because I've looked at the free limitation. I have a professional account on GitHub, so I don't have those kind of limitation. But if you, for example, Flux CD, it's its own organization, so we have to enable that there to be able to run more than 5 tasks in parallel or something like that. Because yeah, if we stick to the free version, I think we'll run into delays when we, I don't know, 2 pull requests in parallel will not be able to build because we have all these clusters that we need to create and all this stuff. So maybe if you can look into that, and I will do some experimentations with GitHub Actions once Kubernetes 1.18 is out. I think that's tomorrow or something like that. So next week I can
today,
look into,
like in a few hours.
Yes, tomorrow for me probably during the night. So I could look into it if the code gen doesn't have that requirement anymore, and we can use the Go GitHub action to build and run it. So that's the main blocker in my mind right now. Kind works for sure because I have a couple of projects on my personal account that uses kind in GitHub Actions, and that works like in Circle CI, is as fast as Circle CI, so I don't have a concern there. I don't know how often it crashes, if it's worse or better than Circle CI, but I can schedule like 100 builds and see what's the error rate. Hopefully it's better.
Do you need, so if you'll check the pricing page here, so will you need the Pro subscription or you need more, like 10, for example? So Pro allows for 3,000 actions. I've pasted the link here in Zoom in Zoom chat.
Daniel, do you have any idea how we can get the minutes from Circle CI? How we can? Okay, so you have to look in Circle CI and see how many build minutes we are using in a month.
Might be the sort of thing we just have to run in parallel and then see how much we're churning through it, which is a bit of duplicated work. Well, you know, a bit of extra work potentially, but
3,000 minutes. 1 second.
how are those even enforced? Do your builds just stop running when you get up to 2,000 in a month? Well, that would definitely suck.
Yeah, cannot build anymore. So let's see, for Flux, it takes like 15 minutes a build. I don't think we'll fit into this. 15 minutes or... Yeah, I have to do some, because it's also Helm operator that does a lot of stuff. It has clusters and so on. So we have to see how often we build a project, how much it takes in average, and then see if 3,000 minutes per month is enough. But by just looking at it, I think we are using this in a week. Also, it scales with the pull requests. So the more pull requests you have, you can hit that limit very fast. Like, let's say today 10 people make a small pull request to the README, we'll run the CI because, well, CI has to run on everything.
Well, we got an answer from Daniel. Is that like an exact answer, or is that from a calculation?
Yeah, sorry. So from February 4th to March 3rd, so 1 month, it was 7,300 minutes.
Only Flux?
No, that's in the Flux CD organization.
Okay.
So for Flux, it was 3,790, and for Helm operator, it was 3,550.
So for checking out the current plans. we have some specific agreements with GitHub, but I'm not sure what exactly that we have because Chris was speaking with them. But checking out the regular prices, so you can ask for the team account, which offers 10,000 minutes, and that should be enough.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, the idea with, so what Circle does, Circle, when you hit that limit, Circle will not just cut off your builds, it will just throttle them.
Mm-hmm.
So how you cannot spin more than one VM in parallel, so you'll get throttled. My understanding is that GitHub Action will just stop. I don't know, maybe they change it. I looked that up when they launched it, maybe something different. But if CNCF has some deal with GitHub and they can get us the 10K minutes, we should fit in there.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah, I'll follow up on this, and yeah, and from your side, I'll ask you to check out if Kubernetes 1.18 will work for you, like from the technical perspective, and if you need to migrate, so we can,
thank you.
We can slightly move there. There is no rush
next week I'll have.
Yeah, perfect. There is no rush with Circle CI retirement, but if we can do it, let's do it.
Yeah, anyway, it will take some time to migrate all the projects. We also have all the get started projects that some of them use Circle CI, some of them use GitHub Action, and in there we do things like YAML linting, kube-val verifications, and all this stuff. So we cannot just switch in a day to take I don't know,
sure,
a month or something like that.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Like, just want to start this conversation now, like not to enforce you to do it, like, you know, like in December that we have to shut down everything with Circle CI by the end of the year. So let's start this conversation in March.
Great. Thank you for letting us know.
All right, so that's it for me for now on this topic.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm going to have to drop off and go have a shower.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Catch you all on Slack.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, folks.
Bye.
All right.
Any other questions to CNC? Probably you have some other requests or anything that you'd like to discuss.
What was the situation with the summer of code? Do you know? I know it was advanced at some point, the deadline.
Yep. So Google decided to extend the deadline. So they accepting the students' applications until March 31st. Actually, let me open the email that they sent out today. Yeah, so they have extended the timeline to review the students' proposals. Previously, the projects had 2 weeks. Now we have 3 weeks. And now the student proposal period is since March 31st until April 20th. They have also extended the community bonding period to 4 weeks from 3 weeks. This is the period when the student becomes like student and mentors are more interacting with each other, and like students and getting to know more about the projects and do all that stuff. So the formal deadline now is June 1st, but if you have an agreement with the student and student is fine with that, so they can start coding early. Yeah, and they have also mentioned that like due to like all this all the situation happening around the globe with COVID-19 and all that stuff. So there might be some issues with internet access from the students' side, but they still asked the projects and the students to commit only if you have, like, if you basically can guarantee yourself that you will have the sustainable internet connection during the program. They have mentioned that because multiple mentors have asked about it, like what should we do if the student will not have the internet access or something like that. But Google asked to commit only if you know that you will have it. Unless something like will go like definitely wrong, but if you expect some issues there, please do not commit it. You can do it like next year. Yeah, and actually, yeah. So Daniel pasted the one link here.
Yeah, another question I had about the CNCF web binaries, web biner. Could we apply with Flux for this in the future?
Yep, you can do it. I don't remember the exact process. You can do it like once in some period of time, but we have the regular webinars for the CNCF projects. I can connect you with the person with Kim. She's the director of marketing at CNCF, and she can provide you with more details on how to do the webinars and what is our current schedule there. So it's not a problem. We have the webinars for the projects.
Okay, so we will be running our own webinar, or CNCF is helping with, I don't know, Zoom, or how does it work?
It's the CNCF webinar, so CNCF is responsible for setting up everything for you. So we provide you with the Zoom, so you're basically joining as the guests on all the setup Zoom session. So we have the moderator, so someone from the CNCF side is moderating it. We also promoting it as we do the regular promotions of all our webinars, and that's it. So you are mostly responsible for just showing up and presenting the solid content there and answering the questions from the audience if there will be any. It's like the webinars as a service, so you don't need to do anything besides presenting there.
Nice, because I was thinking we could do a progressive delivery webinar where we combine Flux, Helm Operator, Flagger, Prometheus, let's say Contour or other Linkerd maybe with Nginx or with Contour, and we create this setup where we show people, hey, this is how you can deploy things in production with the service mesh, GitOps way, and all this stuff. We did this kind of hands-on self-paced workshop at KubeCon in San Diego. People came to the booth, we give them the link, and we have this web page where they can do their own thing at home. Then the other day they came back, they show us, hey, I managed to do a GitOps pipeline, I have the deployment ready, and I give them a t-shirt or something like that. And it was like really successful. People were excited about combining, I don't know, all these CNCF technologies together. We also partnered with AWS. They offered free EKS clusters and so on, but I'm thinking about doing it with just Kind. Like you set up Kind on your laptop, and with a node port hack, you can expose the ingress on localhost, and you can do the whole thing without, investing into an EKS or AKS or having some credits. Or we could partner, I don't know, with Microsoft or someone that could give the WebBiner attendees some Azure points, or it's not linked to a particular cloud. It's with Linkerd, so it works on whatever. If it's a Kubernetes cluster, it works. So this is what I had in mind to do, since KubeCon is off. Looks like Amsterdam is also closed in August. Schools are closed till the end of August, so I don't think KubeCon will happen in Amsterdam?
Well, we are in a final stage of negotiations with the venue. So as of now, KubeCon will happen as we agreed. So it will happen in summer. We'll have some more news during this or next week, hopefully. So just follow up on this. But as of now, KubeCon is happening as we've promised. So in the end of summer. No more details yet, but please expect that it will be.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Unless there will be something announced as well. Something different.
Okay, so can you put me in contact with the person that's running the webinar, and I'll get going on this. I have the materials, I have the slides, I have, like, let's say 80% of the work is done because we run it at in San Diego there as a self-paced stuff, but I think it will work great for a webinar. I can cut off like half of the material and stick to the important bits and do this as a shorter presentation.
Yep, sounds good. I'll do it. I'll connect you with Kim. And another question that I had, actually coming back to Google Summer of Code, I just noticed. So you have one proposal for Flux this year, right?
Yes.
It's improve observability and error reporting in Flux. I would ask you to add one more or two more mentors as the backup mentors. So right now we have only one mentor. It's Hide Beidels. So if you can add one or two people more who can be the mentors, would be great. Because like having the backup mentors who can follow up with the things if necessary would be great. Because if you have one mentor and this mentor won't be able to actually act as a mentor for some reasons mid cycle, it will mean that like this project will fail. So we don't want to see the projects fail. So please consider adding one or two people there as well. No.
Yeah, I'll just put me and Michael there, so we have three, and
perfect.
We have no issues. But I'll do the pull request now. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Ihor, for all the help. No, and yeah, I'll let you know what's happening with GitHub Action and when we can start migrating, or if we have blockers and everything. I'll keep you on the loop.
Perfect. Thank you. All right.
Super.
Hope to see you a lot later. Thank you.
It was.
Stay safe.
You too.
Bye.
All the best.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.